was Tim, I guess.
I don't know where she's at.
Still recovering from the Monday 9-hour meeting I guess they had with the Board of Supervisors. But the budget, they had 9 hours fighting on that, item about, I guess, the taxes and also about the permits, building permits going off and all that. So it was like a major thing going on. I mean, right now supervisors are each pulling from one way. They don't see eye to eye. One wants to have sales staff. I mean, four.
Good morning. I'd like to bring the August 9th, 2017 Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abbott?
Here.
Commissioner Selberg? Commissioner Brule?
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi?
Here.
Commissioner Walker? Commissioner Beller?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly?
Here.
Commissioner Gordon?
Here.
Chairman Fluchet?
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Some standard announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Anyone that wishes to speak, please complete a request to speak form, which is also located on the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item you wish to speak on, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, left, and the center aisle, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There is also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member in the back of the auditorium. Anyway, she's back there. Members of the public cannot speak to the staff, which is sitting in the front with tables and microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located in the back of the auditorium who can meet you in the lobby to discuss. All speakers are limited to 2 minutes to make their presentations. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones or pagers or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask that the audience to refrain from talking with one another during presentations and discussion. Today, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward the recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. The items with a recommendation made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday, September 5th, 2017 at 9:30 a.m. in the same location, with the exception of any items that are continued. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative building and campus are tobacco-free area, which means no smoking allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed. If there are any items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. to 2. Approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review? Any questions or comments or changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Beller and a second by Commissioner Kelly. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 1.
Item number 1 is an evaluation of a request for a special use permit for assessor's parcel number 404-24040 to allow for an RV park in an AR agricultural residential zone in the Ken Beds vicinity. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions. I'd like to note that the applicant is attending by phone if you have any questions.
The applicant is on the phone. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments to the speaker? If none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Abbott, a second by Commissioner Gordon. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Item 2A is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to the Mojave County General Plan from a low-density residential and general commercial land use designation to a medium-density residential land use designation and a general commercial land use designation, and to the Desert Hills Area Plan from a low-density residential and general commercial land use designation to a medium-density residential land use designation and a general commercial land use designation to allow for a subdivision and commercial area for assessor's parcel number 12005-206 in the Lake Havasu vicinity. At this time, staff has not yet received any plans for review for the commercial or proposed subdivision. The applicant wanted to get the rezone approved first, as well as the general and area plan amendments. We have received 2 letters in opposition. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? The applicant is present. We have one speaker on the item, Mr. Ken Works.
Good morning. My name's Ken Works. I live in Yucca at 2250 Crystal Springs Road. My only concern is the traffic congestion that this sort of thing might cause on London Bridge Road. I want to see the projects come into town, and I want to see the commerce and everything, but my only concern is that is the road equipped to handle the extra traffic that is expected, or is there a lot of extra traffic expected on London Bridge Road? And I also wanted to address item 2B for the same reasons, and that's all I had to say. I just wanted the commission to fully look into the traffic situation that it'll cause on London Bridge Road. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
excuse me.
Sir, could you stay up here for just a minute? Thank you.
Just for your information, this commission's, jurisdiction is land use ordinance, meaning that, if it is compatible to application and the land use ordinance that we have. Other jurisdictions, meaning like public works, planning and zoning and all that, will address the traffic. There's multiple layers of items that needs to be going through before they can build a subdivision. So one of them is going to be a study of the traffic that is going around, and if there is need for any improvements that they would be able to impose on the application in the future if they proceed with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no other speakers on the item.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I looked at the 2 letters of objection. Obviously, some of the things that, I see item number 1 of the first letter of opposition talks about the water. I'm sure that, that would be something that, it's a water allocation,
It
and
is.
EPCOR would be able to allocate that. The other item that they were talking about, the impact of the view of the lake. Well, if they own the property, they have the right to use it. We cannot, for personal reason, not, go through. Everything else that I saw is pretty much, it seems like it has no relation to our position as a recommendation that we're going to be making. The second letter talks about, I guess they offered their property for them to sell, and then it didn't go through, so, it seems like I didn't see any relation, or valid objection for that. And with that, if there is no other discussion, I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami, a second by Commissioner Gordon. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just, if I may, just state too that regarding the traffic, this parcel doesn't front London Bridge Road, it fronts Highway 95.
Correct.
And I would assume that the main access point for both commercial and a residential subdivision will be off of Highway 95. And that will most certainly trigger a full traffic impact study and everything accordingly,
Absolutely.
like Mr. Ozami said. So,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of work to do yet, but
Yeah.
I think the rezoning is appropriate.
I think you're right.
I have a question. You probably know, Michael. Is that within the city limits of Lake Havasu?
No.
No, it's not.
Will it be?
Not unless they want it to be,
Yeah.
not unless they approach the city for annexation.
Anytime soon, the answer is no.
Okay.
The highway is, and the property on the other side of the highway is, or some of the property, it kind of follows the highway and jogs its way out to the mall and the airport, but some of these properties in this area are not. They're in the county.
Commissioner Abbott, this is North Lake Havasu. There were a few years ago, there was on the ballot by the city to annex part of the north.
I remember
That failed.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you.
Yeah, that failed.
Yeah, this is just south of Chenoweth on 95. I think it's
Thank you.
90 acres or something. 92 maybe, I don't remember what it is. All right, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2B.
Item 2B is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of Assessor's Parcel Number 12005-206 from a CRE 36A Commercial Recreation 36-acre minimum lot size zone to R1 Single Family Residential and C2H Commercial Highway zones to allow for a proposed subdivision in the Lake Havasu vicinity. We received the same two letters in opposition for this item as well as item 2A. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Okay, the applicant is present. Mr. Ken Works, you want to come back up? Okay, thank you very much. Just giving you that chance. Any questions or comments to the applicant, or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I think we've been approached by
I think
Mars.
the UFOs are here.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for a staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami, a second by Commissioner Gordon. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is an evaluation of a request for an extension of time for BOS Resolution Number 2016-075 for a special use permit on Assessor's Parcel Number 306-32004B to allow for a telecommunication facility with a 100-foot tower in a C2H highway commercial zone in the Golden Valley vicinity. This special use permit was conditionally approved to allow for a telecommunication facility with a 100-foot tower in a C2H highway commercial zone by the Mojave County Board of Supervisors on July 5th, 2016 via BOS Resolution Number 2016-075. This extension of time will allow the applicant additional time to complete all of the conditions as required by BOS Resolution Number 2016-075. The applicant anticipates satisfying all outstanding conditions within the years 2017 and 18 prior to expiration of the extension. As noted on the application, the conditions have not been completed because of difficulties in getting power to the site. An easement to bring power from across State Highway 68 was not granted by ADOT, and now Parker Outdoor is seeking to run a line underneath the highway. This will be the first extension of time for the property. Staff recommends that this request for an extension of time for a special use permit to BOS Resolution Number 2016-075 be approved, subject to the following conditions. One, that the compliance with conditions of BOS Resolution Number 2016-075 continue to be completed. And second, that the extension of time will be in effect until July 5th, 2018. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is not present. We have no speakers on the item. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the staff. Would that extension of time to July of 2018 would be sufficient for the application?
When I spoke to the applicant himself, he said that they're getting pretty close, and then that would allow the sufficient time to be able to do it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve for staff recommendation.
Who said that? We have a motion by Commissioner Abbott and a second by Commissioner Kelly. Those in favor, or any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4.
Item number 4 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel number 305-06140 from an AR agricultural residential zone to a CMO commercial manufacturing open lot storage zone to allow for open and enclosed boat, auto, and RV storage in the Golden Valley vicinity. We received one letter in opposition. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant present? Applicant is present. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions of the speaker or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question for staff. These 3 photos shown, that U-Haul truck there, that's the property next door, right? Or adjoining property?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Abbott, that is correct. That's the storage facility that's right next door.
And the property for rezoning, look at that picture, is just to the right.
To the west, yes.
The west. Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion.
I think that fits the property area there. I would make a motion to approve for a staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Abbott, second by Commissioner Gordon. Any further discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor parcel number 324-10326A from an R120M single-family residential 20,000 square foot minimum lot size zone to an AR agricultural residential zone to allow for horses on the property in the Kingman vicinity. We've received 7 letters. 4 of those letters were in opposition, and 3 of them are in favor. Staff recommends approval with standard conditions.
Is the applicant present? Applicant is present. We have one speaker on the item. Judy Main.
Okay, first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Please
this
state your
morning.
name and address.
Judy Main, 4255 North Irving.
Thank you.
I received a letter from the Kewens which stated they wanted the zoning change to AR because of their horses. As you may know, the Kewens currently have 3 horses on their 1.17 parcel, which is permitted under the current zoning. The result of the proposed zoning change would allow even more horses to be kept on the property. First of all, let me state, I love horses. I had my own horses years ago. However, when I had my horses, they were on a 70-acre parcel out of town, not on a lot in the middle of a residential area. I know firsthand how they attract flies and what their manure smells like. Additional horses bring additional flies and smell. Given our close proximity to the Kewens property and their 3 horses, we already have a significant fly problem. I personally don't feel it is acceptable to subject fellow neighbors to an even bigger fly problem and even more manure smell. In this case, changing the zoning to AR would be allowing a current problem to grow into a big nuisance for all the neighbors. That would force the neighbors to make a difficult decision. Either 1, deal with it and put up with the nuisance caused by the zoning change. 2, involve the courts by filing a lawsuit to stop the nuisance. Or 3, sell their home and move. None of those are good options, and all could be avoided by simply denying the zoning change. In addition, not only do more flies and smell cause a nuisance for the neighbors, but home values decrease as well. No buyer would want to pay top dollar for a smelly home infested with flies. Another issue with the rezoning proposal is that there's a huge difference between the animals allowed in R1 and what is allowed under AR. As you know, AR Regulation Section 14, Part B4 permits horses and cows for private use with no limit on the number allowed. So we are not just talking about 1 or 2 more horses here. We jump from a 3-horse limit under R1 to an unlimited number under AR. Moreover, the rezone would allow for an unlimited number of cows. Cows are generally a bigger nuisance than horses. What if the Kewens decided to have a full farm of 50 cows? Of course, most people would consider that absurd. That the lot is only an acre and is in the middle of a residential area. However, the AR zoning approval would grant them the right to do just that. With that in mind, this commission needs to consider all the potential consequences of a permanent zoning change, not just what might be intended by the Kewens at this point in time. In this situation, even the Kewens tell us that their intent is to only have 4 horses instead of, if they say that that's what their intent is, to only have 4 horses, maybe instead of the 3. Once the rezoning is approved, there is nothing to hold them to that statement. Furthermore, if they sell the property, the AR zoning continues for that parcel. No one knows whether the new buyer will want to take advantage of the AR zoning and put 50 cows on that lot. Given the broad allowances under the AR zoning and the unintentional consequences that may result, a permanent zoning change is not the most appropriate answer. If the intent of this proposal is just to allow 1 or maybe 2 more horses, then it would appear that a use permit would be more appropriate. A use permit could be specifically tailored and limited to the requested use, such as the addition of 1 horse, rather than an open-ended allowance for an unlimited number of cows, horses, and other farm animals. Furthermore, a use permit can impose other specific conditions to protect the neighboring residents, such as requiring that all feed be stored in an enclosed building. AR zoning does not impose any of those protections or limits and simply goes too far. The last issue I want to address is that the letter the Kewens sent out to the neighbors was somewhat deceptive. It stated, and I quote, "We, Albert and Lauren Kewen, have applied for a change of zone for the above-captioned property from R1 to AR for the purpose of allowing horses on our 1.17-acre parcel." The R1 statute, section 16.1, part B3, already permits 3 domestic farm animals for private use. Some of the neighbors we spoke to didn't realize this. Based on the letter, the neighbors thought that the zoning change was needed for the Kewens to keep their current horses on that property, not that it would allow additional horses or cows. They stated they definitely were not aware of that and did not want that to happen. Thus, the vague purpose stated in the letter of allowing horses only served to mislead many neighbors as to the true effect of the proposed zoning change. Also, some of the neighbors said that they did not approve of the additional horses or livestock being allowed on the parcel, but they were afraid to voice their opposition in fear of being a bad neighbor. However, it's my feeling that Kewens' request for rezoning is being a bad neighbor, particularly because of the increased fly and smell nuisance as well as the misleading letter. On behalf of some of my fellow neighbors and myself, I ask that you conclude that 3 horses or other domestic farm animals should be the maximum number for a 1.17-acre parcel in a residential area and deny the rezoning proposal. In the end, I personally feel there's a vast amount of land in Mojave County to provide a more appropriate location for a farm or AR zoning than in the middle of a residential area. I respectfully ask that you deny the rezoning of this parcel on Sierra Vista. Thank
How
you.
many horse properties are out in that area?
There are different ones in the area that have one horse here, two horse there type situation.
Okay, how far do you live away from this property?
Sitting at my back patio, there's one house on the corner, and I diagonally see them, they're just across the road.
Okay. I got a question for staff. Anybody got any questions of the speaker? Okay. The 3 farm animals, does that include 3 horses on R1?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the R1 zone does not allow for any domestic farm animals on the property.
So they're in violation and they're trying to get out. Is that what we're doing here?
Correct. The 3 domestic farm animals is on the ROA
That's what I
zone,
thought.
but the R1 zone does not allow for any.
Okay. So they would have to be in compliance, go to AR.
Correct. And
Can we put a limitation on that?
You already have ordinance.
The AR zone does not have any limitations on that, and as the speaker spoke of a special use permit, we do not currently have a special use permit that would restrict or allow for animals on a property.
Okay, but we can restrict the number of horses.
I think that would be a question for Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Taylor?
Chairman Fouché, the unlimited number of horses is a permitted use on an AR zone. You could attempt to conditionally zone it, but I'm not sure that that would be sustainable.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Someone made a comment that there were other horses in the neighborhood on other properties. What zoning do those properties have, or are they out of compliance as well?
All of the properties to the west are currently zoned AR as well, and can have as many horses or domestic animals as they would like as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman? I have
Yes.
2 questions for the staff. The ordinance that we have, that we know a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, was, approved, shows like a limitation on the number of animals that they can have based on the acreage. Isn't that the case?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, that is not the case in the ordinance that we have currently. There is no limitation on the AR zone according to the size.
So how many horses can they have here, if they want, if they wish?
They could have as many as they would like, as long as it's not creating a nuisance to their neighbors. Then we have our nuisance ordinance that could.
So as
come
many
into
means
effect.
20, 30, 40 if they want?
Correct.
Okay, and based on the area that you see, I understand to the west of it, it is all AR, to the right is all R1. May I ask, what was the base on your recommendation to approve this? Because I'm sure you know that, in the land use ordinance, we have that it has to be compatible to the neighboring properties.
The basis in which we recommended approval is that it is adjacent to other AR zones right next door, across the street, and also that they meet all of the conditions within our zoning ordinance. There's nothing that they would be directly going against. They do have the 1 acre minimum lot size for their property, and they are adjacent to other AR zone.
Respectfully disagree with your comment on that, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 R1s surrounding that property. And then the other side of the street, you have maybe 1 or 2 or 3, maybe even if you push it, that are AR. So, definitely the way I see it is that it is not consistent with the block that they live in or the, area that they're in. So, I'm just saying that, I have a hard time understanding the logic, that the staff made on this, because it is not consistent with our land use ordinance, the way I see it. Because there was a logic when they did those R1s, and I understand that they are AR on that, and especially when you have a situation like this, that, all these properties are occupied the way I see it on the picture, obviously, and you provide, that the limitation is going to open up to as many horses as they can. Definitely, that is not, I believe, the intention of the land use ordinance. So I just want to make that comment on that.
I'd like to go back to Mr. Taylor about putting a limitation on the number of, and I say this because of the size of the property. If this was 10 acres, I wouldn't care. But the fact that it's just a little over 1 acre, is it permissible for us to put a limitation on the number of horses, for example?
Chairman Fluchet, there is provision under the Arizona zoning enabling statute that allows the commission to recommend and the board to adopt what's referred to as conditional zoning.
Right.
You've used that power before when approving a rezone to certain types of zones to keep out uses that might be obnoxious. You could attempt that with your recommendation in this instance.
Okay, well, I don't want to suggest that we do something like that and then the supervisors, kick it back, or, I'm trying to.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I have a question for the applicant, if you don't mind coming to the.
Mind coming down to the podium?
Yeah.
My name's Albert Quinn. I live at 2420 East Sierra Vista.
Mr. Chairman? Question I have is that, did you build the house or you bought the house as is?
We just purchased the house in January, thinking it was horse property. It's the only reason why we bought the home.
Okay, so when you purchased the house, you didn't pay attention to the R1 being, the zoning on it?
First house we bought, I had no idea, believed the realtors. My horses were there 3 days later, after we moved in. It's just, we ended up getting the letter from you guys and started the rezoning process.
Okay. But do you understand the ordinance that we have and the position that, we have in the county, right, in terms of the ordinance?
Well, I do now.
Okay.
I've been researching and that sort of thing. But there are a lot of horses around our property. It's just on our block, and I believe southeast, there's no horses at all.
Yeah. It seems like, you have some area that, I don't know the name of the street between you and the next door neighbor to the west, but it seems like there is a line there that everything to the east of that road is R1, and everything on the west side, it is AR. So you bought on the wrong side of the road.
Well, yeah, I found that out
Thank
later.
you. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions of the speaker? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I cannot support this application because it would open up the floodgate for, number, as you heard from the staff members. I understand about, limitation, but that's not really enforceable. So I have a hard time, comprehending that, changing it from R1 to AR, especially with the explanation that it can be as many as horses that it can be that. So my motion would be to deny the application at this time.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami and a second by Commissioner Kelly. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Maybe I misunderstood, but Mr. Taylor was discussing some type of conditional approval that we could make
That's
for
what he
this
said.
property. Could you repeat that so I can understand it more clearly?
It's not enforceable.
There's a statutory provision where the zoning change can be enacted conditioned on the development and specific use of the property within a certain amount of time, things like that. You could attempt to do that here, but I mean, that's usually applied towards limiting out certain types of uses. If you approve a rezone to accommodate a horse use, I think it would be more difficult to sustain that under a conditional zoning because you're allowing the use in. You're not, you can use conditional zoning to keep out certain uses that might be obnoxious, that's permitted within a particular zone, like heavy industry or something like that. But if you approve a zoning that accommodate a certain use, I think it would be more difficult to sustain a condition that would limit the number of, in this case, the number of animals that fit within that permitted use. Especially if there's AR property nearby and stuff where the property owners are allowed unlimited horses.
So are you saying there's really, other than approving this request, there's no way to allow that property owner to have horses on his property?
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, basically what you're saying is that, it's not enforceable.
That's correct.
Okay. And then, but they can get the conditional use permit on the R1? Can they do that? On the case by case with the expiration time and all that?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
On R1, would they be able to get conditional use if they want to keep 3 horses there?
The conditional or special use permit that we have does not allow a provision for allowing domestic farm animals.
On R1?
On R1. The other zone that allows for animals is the ROA, which is the zone that it's a residential, no manufactured homes, and then it allows for the 3 domestic farm animals.
Okay, but by doing that, isn't that like a spot zoning and the situation there?
That would be more spot zoning in my sense than the AR would be, because AR we have in the area where we do not have any RO in the area. AR is directly adjacent across the street. I could see that being more of the case because it's directly adjacent to it. You got the farm animals right next door. Whereas if you're doing an ROA, there is no ROA in the direct vicinity.
Yeah, but it is not consistent. By changing it to AR, you're breaking the consistency of that neighboring property. I still hold my motion.
I have a question for staff, just a clarification. AR, we've been talking a lot about horses. They can have any animals on AR, is that correct?
You are correct, and that's for private use.
Okay. I got a real problem with this. I have friends who live in that area that moved in for the same reason this gentleman did, bought property, put horses on it. It was not approved. Across the street it was for horses. So and they were turned down. They did not get approved. And I think it's a tough one, and I have to go along with Mehdi on it.
Okay, I know we've had a motion, but I have an additional speaker that would like to make a comment. Lori?
I think we have a motion and a second, right?
Yes.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I'm Lori Chambers. I reside at 3131 Lawrence Way in Kingman, and I'm actually the agent that represented these clients on the property. So just a little bit of history. Initially, when that subdivision was done, it was acre parcels, and then they reverted back to half acres, and I'm sure that was a developer making money. But this is the general and common use in that area if you drive up the street. Like you just said, right across the street, all the way up Sierra Vista, you see horses. That this, and the common general belief of our community, people that have lived there for 20 years, Joy Brotherton lived just down the street, was that if you had an acre in the middle of town, it was quote unquote horse property. So this is not deviating from the general use of that area in any way, is that if you had an acre in the middle of town, it was considered horse property. And you are correct, you can go across the street, you can go down the road, that's what it was for. And that's the way it's always been. So if that helps you any with, the history of, why we believe this should be allowable in this area, is because that is the general use of an acre of property in the middle of town in this area, if you drive down it, like someone just said here.
Yeah. Would you
Can I-
please state your name and address? I forgot.
Lori Chambers, 3131 Lawrence Way, Kingman, Arizona.
Okay. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as far as I know, as long as there is no complaint about any problems in that particular property, I believe that, on R1, they're going to be able to keep that. Yes, they're in violation of the zoning, but at the same time, at my understanding, in Golden Valley, there's a lot of violations and it's complaint driven. So that's unfortunate situation that the real estate associate that they were working did not disclose that to them. But again, we have to be fair to the neighboring community, and also we have to be fair to the land use ordinance.
Any additional comments or questions?
Well, just one additional comment. AR opens it up for any amount of animals almost, and that is a difference. And it sounds like might end up being spot zoning, but there is a condition that would allow them 3 horses, but AR, that's what I'm objecting to.
We have a motion on the floor. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
And we have 1 abstention. Motion carries, which was denial, right?
Yes, denial.
Denial, okay. Okay. Let's see. Call to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on any item that is not on today's agenda? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to acknowledge what Director Walsh did basically on Monday. He went through a very long session of 9 hours, doing a great job for his department, especially for the building department. I know 3 of our commissions are on that code advisory board, Paul Silberg and Keith, that they're not here right now. And I know that, that was, looked at in terms of the building permits and providing a better quality of service as we are going through the future of our county with a lot of construction. So I just want to recognize the hard work of Director Walsh and his department doing a great job. I know that I'm sure he's all bruised up. I heard that it was very loud and sometimes borderline insulting, but I just want to know that great job, Director Walsh, and we want to recognize that. Thank you.
Hip, hip, hooray. Yes.
Put some ice on it.
Scott.
Mr. Chairman, not to go back here, but could, Mrs. Chapman, could you read who seconded that motion, the last motion?
Motion was to deny,
Kelly, wasn't it?
and yes, Commissioner Kelly seconded it.
So can you abstain if you seconded it? Or would we have to have a different person be a second? That'd be,
I think it depends on the reason. I think it would depend on the reason for the abstention.
Reason for the abstention?
Yeah.
I have a personal connection with the agent that's involved in this.
Is it an economical,
Well, we're both realtors, and so I just don't know that,
Usually, if you have no financial interest in something, is usually the only reason that you abstain or,
then I'll vote in opposition.
okay. So we got 1, basically yes vote. Any monthly reports?
Chairman Flouché, members of the commission, first want to thank Commissioner Arzami. I appreciate the kind words, and wanted to give a report as well that along with the building fees, the planning and zoning fees were adopted as well. So just to keep the commission informed that the planning and zoning fees that were presented, I believe, 2 months ago about now, for consideration and discussion, those were adopted as presented. So they will all go into effect beginning September 7th. So the board elected to implement them right away. So.
All right.
So now that you have a better budget, we can ask for a raise, right?
Yeah. Can we get new computers?
Already. Thank you very much.
Commissioners' comments? Any announcements? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Abbott and a second by Commissioner Gordon to adjourn. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned.